Another fuel tanker falls, catches fire in Onitsha. Second such incident 3 days. Finally, federal government, organized labor, sign agreement on new minimum wage. On the international scene, Turkey agrees to a 5-day suspension of military action in northeastern Syria so Kurds can get out of the way. And in sport, 16-year-old Oyinlomo Quadri qualifies for quarter-final of the Lagos Open tournament.
This is ANN News.
I am Olajumoke Olatunji. News coming in, Kogi State House of Assembly has impeached Deputy Governor Simon Achuba. The impeachment is coming barely a few hours after a 7-man panel investigating allegations of gross misconduct leveled against the Deputy Governor submitted its reports to the State Assembly. Chairman of the panel, Barrister John Bayesha, on Friday led 6 other members of the panel to submit the reports to the Speaker of the House of Assembly, Kolawole Matthew. And just as residents of Onitsha were to get on the road for the morning rush hour on Friday, another fuel tanker disaster struck. A petrol tanker fell and spilled its highly flammable content into a canal. Eyewitnesses say fire spread quickly, causing confusion around town. After all, they were just recovering from a similar disastrous incident on Wednesday. Sources say just like in Wednesday's incident, the State Fire Service were unable to tackle the fire because there were no functional vehicles. The situation was rescued by their Delta State counterpart. Many residents were said to have vacated their homes to avoid being singed. The issue of new minimum wage has been of intense rancor between the federal government and organized labor for quite some time. Nationwide strikes were threatened and government's appeal for time went on many occasions. Even threats of a nationwide strike was averted on Wednesday when Minister of Labor and Employment Dr. Chris Ngige appealed for calm while negotiations continued. Well, the deal is now finally signed and the federal government is now transmitting the collective bargaining agreements to state for implementation. These are the final increases on which the two sides agreed. Grade level 7, 23.2%. Grade level 8, 20%. Grade level 9, 19%. Levels 10 to 14, 16%. And 15 to 17, 14%. The Trade Union Congress of Nigeria has commended the federal government and organized labor for their patience while the national minimum wage negotiations lasted. The leadership of the Labour Center added that although it was a rough road, it is happy that an agreement has finally been reached. Ondo citizens are wondering aloud about their governor's whereabouts. Governor Oluwarotimi Akeredolu was due back from his annual vacation 2 weeks ago, but he has not been seen within or outside the state since his vacation ended. Rumors arrived that the governor is indisposed and is currently receiving treatment at an unknown location. The governor was conspicuously absent during President Buhari's meeting with 9 state governors in Abuja. Ondo State Commissioner for Information Donald Ojogo quelled the rumors and said the governor is in good condition and that he has been attending to a series of meetings in Abuja. Meanwhile, no one has cited him there either. He said the rumors are coming from those who do not mean well for Ondo State. He said the governor is not hospitalized. The governor is scheduled to be conferred with an award tomorrow by African Stride International for Best Innovative Governor in Africa. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has visited the Nigerian Farmers Group and Cooperative Society Farm Center in Nasarawa State. He was accompanied by Governor Abdullahi Sule. Professor Osinbajo commended the communities in Hadari Emirates District for uniting to establish a farm settlement that produces livestock and crops. He described the farm as a true Nigerian story of honesty, hard work, and cooperation regardless of ethnic differences and social background. This is even more so as the coordinator of the farm is a former Niger Delta agitator, Restun Tejegu. The farm started with 3 hectares and 1.5 million naira 2 years ago. Now it occupies 3,000 hectares of land and is worth about 1 billion naira. It also employs 300 workers. Professor Osinbajo said by just going around the farm, he saw a great deal of hope that Nigeria can indeed work and work very well again. Among other components, the farm includes a ranch, crop farm, poultry, and a rice farm. A teacher and 2 others have been abducted by gunmen in Kaduna State. Abdulaziz Abdullahi of the Ganduru Primary School was taken at Doka filling station in Beningwari. 2 others were shot and seriously wounded. Chairman of Beningwari Vanguard for Security and Good Governance, Ibrahim Abubakar Nagwari, said in a statement, the heavily armed bandits opened fire on vehicles around Powaya and abducted a bread vendor about 10 kilometers from Beningwari. He said the armed bandits also struck again on Wednesday near Gayam village. They wounded 3 vigilantes there and abducted people from vehicles. Nagwari said the entire Beningwari-Kaduna highway has been overtaken by bandits terrorizing and abducting innocent people, especially women and children in broad daylight. He claims security personnel stationed in Beningwari have not offered any challenge to the bandits. Nagwari says the strategic Beningwari-Funtua road has been deserted and the entire eastern part of Beningwari, neighboring Zamfara and Katsina states is now surrounded by armed bandits. The Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAM, has advised candidates to pay directly into the Treasury single account for any of its services. It strongly discourages payments to any of its staff. This action follows allegation that some JAM workers in Lagos were extorting 2,000 naira from students who were filling documentation with them. In a statement on its Twitter handle on Thursday, the board said any candidate involved in any financial transaction with its staff should immediately notify JAM and provide necessary information so necessary action could be taken. The board had earlier told candidates for the 2020 UTME to get their data captured at any National Identity Management Commission's office. JAM says registering for the National Identification Number is a prerequisite to writing the 2020 examination.
Coming up, African stories, 20 die in Ghana floods. And later, international news. Turkey agrees to 5-day suspension of hostilities in northeastern Syria.
You are watching ANN.
Dear Mommy, you went out that night with the baby in your tummy, but you did not come back. The baby is very fine and she eats and sleeps a lot. Everyone says that you are in a better place, but I miss you so much. I keep asking them, where is the better place? But nobody answers me. Auntie Carrie just hugs me and says, go and play. Mommy, I miss you. Please, when are you coming home?
I still do miss you, Mom. And in honor of your memory, I'm a doctor today working with the MTN Foundation to save mothers and children every day.
Ending mother and child mortality in Nigeria is dear to us. We will keep strengthening this most important bond just for you.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. Now to some African stories. Torrential rains in northeastern Ghana have killed at least 28 persons and injured several others following 8 days of downpour. Authorities fear casualty figures could rise from the more than 1,000 houses destroyed. More than 100 persons have been displaced. Ghana's National Disaster Management Organization says it has started supplying relief items to the victims. Agency spokesman George Ayisi said on Wednesday the rains are still ongoing. Relief organizations have appealed for more support for those affected. Ghana's Meteorological Department has predicted more rains across the country in the coming weeks and has warned of the possibility of more flooding. The campaign to immunize children against polio and vaccination for rubella has kicked off in Kampala. This initiative is meant to protect children against the complications that come with catching these diseases, including death. During the launching, Mayor of Central Division Charles Turinjongan assured parents of the safety of the vaccines and appealed to them to allow their children to be immunized. The mayor, whose children were rubella victims, explains how he struggles to treat the disease.
one after another. They have been chased out of school, and they have been spending 2 weeks at home trying to mitigate this challenge. With this immunization, that will stop. Our children are going to get access to proper health, and which is a constitutional right. They are going to mitigate the challenges that have been stopping them from having access to education.
Palace Central Division has a target of immunizing 37,000 children from 9 months to 14 years old. European Union observers in Mozambique have said general elections held in the country on Tuesday were well organized but marred by an unlevel playing field, violence and a climate of fear. It praised the voting day as smooth, orderly and largely peaceful. An assessment by EU monitors decried violence in the run-up to the vote, including murder, torching of houses and obstruction of campaigns. The EU also questioned the integrity of the voters' register. The Mozambique Electoral Administration has denied accusation of vote manipulation. Official results are expected before month end. Just like in any other country, the push is on in South Africa to put more ordinary citizens in touch with the government. A new app has just been launched that will do just that. Travis Andrews' report from Johannesburg.
Paving the way for a renewed approach to government accountability to the South African public. GovChat is not just that, it's much more, and transparency is at its core. The new platform now connects citizens to around 10,000 public representatives and 30,000 government facilities, with its main aim of connecting them to the government in a way that leads to action on the ground.
When you report a pothole or a water pipe that has burst, it connects you directly to the person in charge of that issue at the municipality. And then technical managers can then assign those issues to technical people, but at the same time citizens get responses directly through this automated process on what is happening. Citizens can track where this issue is, being able to hold government accountable in real time.
The platform will be especially useful for those complaints at electricity providers or even public officials that are failing to tend to their constituencies' needs. GovChat has the support of not just the government officials, but from the President himself, as part of the administration's mission to tend to the important needs of ordinary South Africans in a granular way.
It's free information. People are able to interact with government freely without any charge, but using technology. So we have to strengthen and make sure that there's more outreach on GovChat. So it even means connectivity, broadband deployment, infrastructure deployment, so that everybody, even in deep rural areas, are able to communicate through GovChat.
And communicate using the new engagement platform can be done in simple ways, by adding GovChat as a contact in WhatsApp, Instagram or even Facebook Messenger. And important civic issues can be dealt with one click at a time. Apart from fostering greater engagement between the government and the citizenry, the new platform is also meant to be preemptive in many ways, by assisting government in reducing the high number of service delivery protests that continue to plague many communities.
When we return, international news. Turkey agrees to 5-day suspension of hostilities in northeastern Syria. And later, sports. Oyinlama Quadri qualifies for quarterfinal of the Lagos Open tournament.
Welcome back. This is CNN News. On the international scene, U.S. and Turkey have agreed to a 5-day suspension of hostilities in northern Syria. 9 days into Turkey's invasion, Ankara has agreed to pause military operations for 120 hours, while the United States facilitates the withdrawal of the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces from a 20-mile safe zone along the border. A senior U.S. official says the deal means the U.S. was validating what Turkey did and allowing it to annex a portion of Syria and displace the Kurdish population. Turkey says the agreement is not a ceasefire, as the U.S. describes it, but only a pause on operations in the region, reflecting Ankara's view of the status of the Syrian Kurds. Trump doubles down on his Syria decision, making false claims as Republican anger grows. Pence says the Turkish operation would end when the YPG forces complete their withdrawal. Turkey says it got exactly what it wanted from the U.S., which has agreed not to impose new sanctions, but to withdraw the current ones as a result of Turkey's pause in the offensive. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson is in present race against time to sell to Parliament the Brexit deal he has struck with the EU before a vote on it comes up in the House of Commons on Saturday. Johnson says he's very confident of getting the majority needs to get Brexit done by the end of October deadline. He will have to persuade Labour rebels, ex-Tories and Brexiteers in his own party to get on board. If he does not get the numbers needed to win a vote on Saturday, he will have to try again to trigger a general election. British law states that the Prime Minister must ask the EU for a 3-month extension to the Brexit deadline if Parliament approved no deal. Fugitive former Catalan leader Charles Puigdemont has turned himself in to Belgian justice. Authorities found Spain's northeastern Catalonia region and its riot-swept regional capital Barcelona were paralyzed by a mix of strikes and marches. The pro-independence demonstrations continued for a 5th day with protests over the conviction of independence leaders. It said that Puigdemont rejects the warrant and opposes any attempt to send him back to Spain. It was not immediately clear whether he is still being questioned or held in Belgium. Puigdemont and a number of his associates fled to Belgium 2 years ago after they were summoned to court over their involvement in organizing an independence referendum which was ruled illegal. Thousands of protesters from all over the Catalonia region are marching toward Barcelona as part of a wave of demonstrations triggered by Spain's Supreme Court's decision on Monday to sentence 9 politicians to between 9 and 13 years in prison for their participation in the 2017 referendum. Spain's central authorities said 57 flights into and out of the region were cancelled for the day. Thousands of citizens took to the streets across the country on Thursday in what has been described as the biggest protest in years after the government announcement of new taxes. The intensity of the protest brought into question whether the government appointed less than a year ago would survive. One of the country's main politicians, leader of the Progressive Socialist Party, said they were in a big predicament. Interior Minister Raya El Hazard warned that the country itself could collapse if the government falls. The protests come amid Lebanon's worsening economic and financial crisis that many blame on the small number of sectarian politicians who have ruled the country since its 15-year civil war came to an end in 1990. Heavily armed fighters surrounded security forces in a Mexican city to ensure the freedom of one of drug lord Joaquin El Chapo Guzman's son after his arrest triggered gun battles and a prison break. A large group of inmates escaped from the city prison. Residents cowered in shopping centers and supermarkets as gunfire roared. 2 people were reportedly killed and 21 injured. Reporters say police came under attack when they approached roadblocks manned by gunmen. Analysts say the chaos might increase pressure on President Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador, who took office in December, promising to pacify a country weary after more than a decade of fighting a drug war. Welcome back. This is ANN News and Sport. An unseeded Nigerian, Barakat Oyinlomo Quadri, has qualified for the quarter-final of the Lagos Open tennis tournament. The 16-year-old edged out 8th seed Serbian Kurovic Taraman before signaling to the referee that she could not continue the match. Quadri had already won the first set 6-2. Tamara complained of fever. Quadri expressed delight at making it this far, even as she credited her dad for the extra push. Senegal has denied reports of age cheating as they announced their 21-man squad for the upcoming FIFA Under-17 World Cup in Brazil. The Senegalese Football Federation says no player from the Under-17 national team selected for the FIFA World Cup has been denied because of age fraud. The tournament begins next Saturday. Senegal qualified as one of Africa's 4 representatives after Guinea were disqualified for fielding overaged players at the Under-17 Africa Cup of Nations in Tanzania in April. Honesty in sport is the best policy. That is CNN News this evening. Thank you for joining us. For details on these and other breaking stories, visit our website, annafrica.news. Conversation continues on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Enjoy